Hello class, and I'm going to do a high-level walkthrough on the Week 12 Lab 2 assignment. In this lab, you're going to need to go to Doc Sharing and download and save Lab 6-1 City Market. Remember, you'll click on Doc Sharing. In the Student Data Files link, you want to scroll down and locate Lab 6-1 City Market, as you'll need that for your Week 12 Lab 2 assignment. Once you open that up, we'll then go to our e-textbook, and on the pages that we want to be viewing here, we are looking at EX 401, Lab 1, using structured references and a lookup table. That will be using the VLOOKUP function. So we see here an example of what our completed project will look like. And as a big note to self, please don't go through and type in just these numbers and letters and information, because your lab is going to result in no points. This information is populated by the functions. So I'm going to be looking not for the information, I'm looking at these to see that you have the functions entered. So let's get started. As we come over to our beginning steps, and keep in mind, I'm walking through at a high level for the core concepts. You'll need to really come onto page EX402 and pay attention to some of the formatting that is professional polishes. So we have Lab 6-1 City Market open. I've opened that here in Excel that I downloaded from Doc Sharing. And the next thing I need to do is I'm going to format it, and you're going to do a lot of nice formatting to really polish up your spreadsheet. And in the sake of time, I'm going to be adding new columns per the assignment directions, where I need a column for shelf life, days left, and grade. So let's add those three columns, which is shelf life. I'm looking at days left, and I'm looking at grade. So as I have that information in, I then am looking at adding my first function. And so I can see the function is provided here for me for what is the formula to calculate the shelf life. And the shelf life is a function always starts with that equal sign. We're looking at taking the sell by date and subtracting that from the stock date, the day that it was stocked on the shelf. So when I look at my example and I start my function with an equal sign, and I'm looking at taking the sell by date, so that is right here in cell D8, and I want to subtract that from the, oops, I think I just did that backwards. I want to look at the sell by date and subtract that from the stock date. And then I can hit enter on my keyboard, and that produces a number. Now, if I've already formatted my table or my data as a table, which is in the styles group here to format as a table, your data might just automatically populate for these shelves. And that's okay. I'm just showing you the core concept of doing it. So when I use the fill handle and I drag down, it will automatically now update and populate my information for me. And when I look at the days left, I want to look at that formula here in the e-textbook. And that's in step number 2, the formula for calculating the days left. We're looking at taking the sell by date and subtracting it from the current date. And notice the lovely little hint here. Our current date we'll find in cell F24. Well, let's look at that. So when I look at my days left, I am looking at taking my sell by date. So I start my function with an equal. I'm taking my sell by date, which in this example is here in E8. And now I want to subtract that from the current date. And I see the current date is displayed here in F24. So I'll select that. Then I can press enter on my keyboard. Now, if you come up with a number format like this, you'll see that in my Home tab on my Numbers group, my cell is formatted as a date. But if I change that formatting to General, I now have a number. Again, if you've already formatted all of your data as a table, all your data may automatically populate down for you. And you might just need to, maybe you'll find that you have here like this 10 is all the way over here. You might need to tweak and adjust some alignment, and that's formatting that you're going to look at. And again, here I can look at my fill handle and pull that data down so that function will replicate itself and update. Now on the next column on grade, for the grade we need to put in that table that we see here on our e-textbook, which is table 6-6. I need to put in the grade table with a heading for one column, days left, and a heading for the second column of grade. So I'm simply going to put in this information that we see here. Let's walk through that quickly now. I want to start by going into cell J6, and that's where I'm going to put in grade table. Remember, you're going to need to do all the formatting, merge the cell, adjust the column widths. You need to do all the formatting and dressing up. I'm just going through the core concepts here. So in our first column, I'm going to merge actually quickly my grade table. And in my first column here, that is days left. And in my other column, it's simply the grade. And I'm just transferring the information from the e-textbook that's in the table. And I have 0, 3, 7, 9, and 14. And for my grades, I have A, B, C, D, and F. So this is that table that's in my e-textbook. Again, you need to format it, and you'll remember in our e-textbook, as a quick reminder, as you look here at page EX401, you'll see an example, and this example will let you know how you want to format your data. So let's look back at the core function. As we're looking back at the core function here, we did create the table 6-6. And so now we are going to look at calculating the grade using the VLOOKUP function. And so in our assignment here, it's explaining the VLOOKUP function and what information we're looking for. I'll walk through that with you now. So in column H, that's where we're going to be putting in all of our VLOOKUP function. So I'm going to start with H8. My function begins with an equal, and the function I'm looking at is VLOOKUP. So as I start typing that, I can now click, and I'm using that shortcut. Now, what is the information that I am looking to figure out? I want to know the days left and what the grade is. So the days left is here in column G. So in my first example, it's in G8. So I'll type in G8. I'll try that again. I'll type in G8 there, followed by a comma. And now, what is it that I am looking at? Where am I extracting my information to find out what the days left is versus the grade? So I need to put in that range. I am looking at all of the cells here in J8 through K12. So I'm looking at this range here. Now, what you'll note is I want to make this an absolute reference. When I want to make this an absolute reference here, I can use the sneaky keyboard shortcut of F4. And now do you see how that puts the dollar signs in for me? I can put this in manually and type $J, $8, colon, $K, $12. So I can put in the dollar signs, and remember the dollar signs mean I am always looking at column J and row 8 and always looking at column K, row 12. If I did not have the dollar sign, then that would not be an absolute reference. In other words, if I used a fill handle and dragged information down, it would automatically update. So J8, if I drag that fill handle down, would become J9 and K13, and it would just automatically keep adding 1 point, one number as I use my fill handle. When I put in the $sign as the absolute reference, these references will not change. So after I have in my data range where I'm looking here at this table, I follow that with a comma, and what am I looking at? Am I looking at column 1, days left, or am I looking at column 2, the grade, in my data table? I want the grade, so that's in column 2 of my data table. If I had the grade out here and I had another column in here, I'd be looking at column 3. So here I'm looking at column 2. I want to end my function with the close parentheses and press the equal sign on my keyboard, and you'll see here in column H my grade is added. And I'm going to do some simple formatting there. Now I can use my fill handle and drag down, and you'll see that G8 is now updated to G9, but J8 through J12, that has stayed as a constant for my function. So we definitely have updated all of our information to reflect the grades. Now as we continue on, we need to create an output area, and we're going to use the countif function. So again, I want to remind you that in your e-textbook, on the previous page, when you create your output area, remember here in the reference, you need to do all the formatting and put that professional polish on your work. So as we come back to the output area in our e-textbook, we have figure 6-7. And this output area is telling us what we need to put in. So let's do that together. So my output area, and here once again, I'm just going to merge and center that. And what do we have? We have grade A, grade B, grade C, vegetable, and fruit. All right. So I have grade A count. I have grade B count. I have grade C count. And it's vegetable. I don't have the chart in front of me. Vegetable count, and I had fruit count. And I'm looking ahead at the next step, just planning in advance. And in the next step, it said add one more output area with your count of your favorite fruit or vegetable. And so I'm just going to pick peaches. And so again, here I have my data area, and now I need to put my function in. So again, you want to do all the formatting and all of that beautification to add the professional polish. So I'm looking at my grade A count and what my function will be. My function is going to start with an equal. The function I'm using is the countif, and as I start typing it, I see it populate here on the list. And the range that I'm looking at, well, because I'm looking at the grade, I'm now looking at column H. What's the range in column H? Well, it's H8 down to H20. So that's my range. And then I need to follow that by a comma. And what am I looking for in that entire column? Well, I'm going to put that in quotes. In quotes, I'm looking for A. I'm looking for grade A. And that's in my quotes, close parentheses. Press the enter or return key on your keyboard. Let's do another one for grade B. It's the same thing. Function starts with an equal. I'm using the countif function. That will populate for me. And the range that I'm looking at, I'm still looking for a grade B count. So I'm looking at the range of H8 through H20, followed by a comma. And don't forget, you can see my function up here in the formula bar. And in quotes, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the grade B. So I just need to put B there and close parentheses. Again, you'll see my function up here in the formula bar. Press or hit the enter or return key on your keyboard, or you can press the enter check mark up to the left of the formula bar. Let's do the grade count for grade C. We start with an equal sign. We're using the countif function, so I'll select that. I'm just repeating the same thing we did before. I'm looking at the range of H8 through H20 because that's where my grade data is, followed by a comma. And in quotes, what am I looking for? I want to see the grade of C. And end parentheses. And then I will press the enter key on my keyboard. Now, if this had any other information other than the A or the B or the C, I would need to make sure that's included in the quotes. The quotes are just looking for exactly that. So my vegetable count, again, I'm using the countif function, so I start with equal, and I'm going to countif. And where are my vegetables? So I'm going to count vegetables. Well, I see that's here in column C. So my range in this case is C8 through C20, followed by a comma, and in quotes, what am I looking for? Now, I need to type it exactly as it is here. I'm looking for vegetable. So let's just say I typed in veggie in quotes. And you'll see that that returns no value because that word, veggie, does not match anything here in column C. So that's where you need to make sure that you watch your spelling, because even if, let's say, I spell vegetable wrong, let's say I spell it incorrectly like this, it's going to return 0 for my value because I didn't spell vegetable correct. It's not spelled that way here in this column. So you do need to watch that you are looking and putting in the correct spelling of what the data that you're looking for is. Now I want to count my fruits. Start using the countif function. And I'm looking at the range. Again, I'm looking at C8 through C20. And followed by a comma, and in quotes, what am I looking for? I'm just looking for fruit, in quotes, and close parentheses. Press the enter or return key. Now for the last one, you don't have to do peaches. You put in any one of your favorite, but it's got to be in this list. And if it's not in this list, it's not going to find it. So I'm going to use the countif function again, just as we have been doing. And the range I'm looking in now, well, I'm looking for a specific fruit or vegetable name. So I'm looking in column B in range B8 through B20, followed by a comma, and in quotes, what am I looking to find? In my case, I'm looking to find peaches. So I put that in quotes. If you typed in green beans, you'd have to type it in exactly as you see in column B, end quote, and parentheses, and press or hit the enter or return key on your keyboard. These are the core principles of this lab assignment, but remember, I didn't do the formatting on my example as I wanted to walk you through the core concepts. You do need to apply all the formatting, as that will be part of the grading criteria for your week 12 Lab 2 assignment.